Do deep ocean thermal vents produce oxygen and drive thermal maximums in climate? My name is R. Crosby Lyles, and this is News from the Can. After several years studying climate change, it has become crystal clear to me that the character of deep ocean thermal vents, along with overall volcanic activity, drive the production of long-term thermal maximums in the Earth's climate. If it were not for the high pH of water emanating from deep ocean thermal vents, the world's deep oceans would be more susceptible to saturation of CO2, subsequent acidification, and the development of hypoxic and anoxic conditions. Those anoxic conditions would necessarily prevail on a planet with no deep ocean thermal vents, leading to a much warmer climate than we presently experience. This means that advanced industrial global warming might be reversible in the span of decades. However, it also means that the character of deep ocean vents might be susceptible to change from meteor strikes and/or big changes in tectonic activity. Furthermore, large landlocked saltwater bodies without thermal vents, like the Gulf of Mexico, may indeed be subject to longer-term anoxic conditions brought on by human industrial activity. Beyond our basic existential concerns, the pH and temperature of some deep ocean vents produce conditions where oxygen may even be produced from carbonates, sulfates, and other minerals dissolved in the flow. So not only may oceans beneath layers of ice on frozen worlds contain oxygen-breathing organisms, but aerobic life might have evolved concurrently or even before photosynthesis here on Earth. This necessarily means that oxygen may be detected on extraterrestrial planets where there are no living organisms. Before we move on to the as-yet unproven radical concept of oxygen production around deep ocean vents, I should reiterate my belief that the total cascade failure of the entire world's ocean ecosystem due to anthropogenic carbon release is improbable because of the high salt content and pH of outflow water from deep ocean thermal vents. Cascade failure of other bodies of water without thermal vents like the Gulf of Mexico is certainly possible, but might be reversible with industrial-scale aeration. We covered energy production by aerating the ocean in my video titled Common Sense Energy Device Hidden Since the 70s, published June 9th, 2018. Oxygen produced around thermal vents and its subsequent existence on planets with no life is a big, as-yet unproven chunk to swallow. In fact, oxygen produced in close proximity to any kind of volcanic vents is probably a new concept to most of you. Releasing oxygen from sulfates and carbonates is rather energy-intensive. However, the water gushing out from many of these deep sea vents is hot enough and under enough pressure to be a supercritical fluid as it meets the colder water above. Supercritical fluids have physical properties that allow them to break down oxides in solution. In fact, just a little sodium chloride in solution will raise the oxidation potential of a supercritical fluid like seawater high enough to strip nickel off of a nickel alloy pipe. Then, according to Le Chatelier's principle, oxygen solubility in water goes down as temperature goes up. This typically means that the oxygen gas is off, but in the case of deep-sea thermal vents, low oxygen solubility simply means the hotter the water, the less dissolved oxygen is found there. Interestingly, though, the presence of H2S is not temperature dependent. All transition metal sulfides are highly insoluble. So the thrust of my hypothesis is that oxygen is stripped off the sulfates, dissolved in thermal effluent, and briskly pushed away from the plume where it may recombine into O2 as it dissolves into the surrounding cold waters. Meanwhile, sulfide is rendered insoluble upon reaction with any of the plethora of transition metal ions also found in the thermal outflow. Carbonate in the surrounding waters originating from atmospheric CO2 is sequestered by similar metal ions at the same time. So while carbon is sequestered, a small amount of oxygen is released around these thermal vents for a net increase in oxygen concentration of the deep ocean. Evidence for deep ocean oxygen replenishment is largely anecdotal. Anoxic waters typically lay in the mid-depths of the oceans, between 300 and 1,800 meters down. Oxygen concentrations go up a bit with depth, so transport of oxygen produced at the surface past a mid-ocean anoxic region to increase oxygen concentrations deeper down seems implausible. Another bit of circumstantial evidence is the large amount of metal sulfide found in the rock and sediments around these thermal vents. Obviously, the devil is in the details. The precise pathways and theoretical framework of oxygen production at deep ocean thermal vents by R. Crosby Lyles is forthcoming. That's about it for now. My name is R. Crosby Lyles, and this is News from the Can. If you like this content, please give us a thumbs up, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you.